Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I greet you all according to your time and locations you'll be watching this video. Yes, my dear viewers, I am back again with another update. So guys, I have a video here I would like we all to watch. But before then, if you're meeting my channel for the very first time, you're highly welcome. Please kindly do well to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts on the comment section. Let us know what you think about this video, and I will see you towards the end.
Met with representatives of the federal government. Joining us now on this show to discuss the labor union protest is Senator Shehu Sani, a former lawmaker representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District at the National Assembly and the president of the Civil Rights Congress of Nigeria. Good morning, Senator Shehu Sani, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you for having me in your program, Ruben.
Okay, Senator Comrade Shehu Sani, so much to talk about. I mean, we can spend the whole day with you. But the original focus, let's start with that, which is the labor protest today in parts of Nigeria. Labor objecting to the olive branch, to so speak, waved in the president's national broadcast and insisting that a strike will continue, the protest will continue. And in parts of the country, we have seen organized labor staging that protest. What do you think? Where do you think we are headed? What do you think the president could have done differently?
Well, from my own understanding, the contention is about the removal of subsidy and the consequences of that removal. We all know very well that in the last 4 decades, government has been subsidizing Nigeria's petroleum product, especially the one that has been imported. And this has to do with the fact that we are unable to get our refineries working, and for that reason, our PMS, or otherwise known as petrol, has to be imported and then sold at the local market. Now, this government has done what other governments were not able to achieve. That is that it was able to bring an end to the subsidy regime. And not that it brought an end to the subsidy regime, but for the fact that it inherited a budgetary system where no provision was made for subsidy, and that was deliberately done by the last administration. Now, I think the Labour and the government have come to terms on agreeing that for the first time that subsidy has to go. But where the problem come in is on the implementation of palliative measures and actions that need to be taken to alleviate or reduce the consequences as a result of this removal. And from what I know, that there were dialogue and negotiation between government and labor. But for the fact that the government is just coming to office and you cannot pinpoint a minister that will be held responsible. Under the Buhari regime, we know that it was Ngige. But now the government is still at its infant stage, and there wasn't any specific person to drive in the process. And as such, it now resulted to the problem we face ourselves. After the first withdrawal and the skyrocketed increase in price of petroleum product, there were negotiations that took place. But you cannot specifically pinpoint areas of agreement and how those things can be articulated. And I believe still it has to do with the fact that the government is still in the process of forming itself. But now, from what has happened, when Labour said they visited the villa and they were left unattended from 3 to 6 p.m., I know very well that something is going to come up. But what I believe was that there was sincere effort from the side of Labour to negotiate And I believe also government knew the consequences of it, and they too have to negotiate. But there need to be someone whom you will pinpoint and say, this is the person who is heading the process. You can't put a chief of staff to negotiate on behalf of the government. You can't put the spokesperson of the government to negotiate. You need a ministry, you need a minister, which is absent. So that led to where we are. But I think it's still something that can be salvaged, because there are two ways the labor could have acted. The first is this protest, and the second is shutting down services nationwide. And I've not seen the second option being taken. Because if it is going to be the second option, all the affiliate labor groups could have issued statements from the day for yesterday to yesterday that we are shutting down the airports, we are shutting down electricity, we are shutting down health services, we are shutting down the judiciary, but it has not taken place. So I believe that the labor, for now, are sending a message that this is, let's flex our muscles for you to see the need for us to go back to the negotiating table. But I believe things will be better when the government has finally takes a full shape, and there are ministers and a committee is seriously set up with people responsible and can sit down and articulate these issues. The presidential speech came with a lot of promises and pledges of investing money, pumping in money to the agri sector, to small businesses, to all those things here. But you still need somebody to articulate this, and a committee between labor and government headed by a minister to see all these things here implemented. So I think the mistake the government has done was that the period it took before the swearing in, having known that there is not going to be subsidy, that could have been a period where there should be a roadmap on tackling the consequences of a withdrawal of subsidy, but that was not done. So almost everything was just done like an afterthought. There is no subsidy, so what do? They will grab here, release, pick here, release, do this thing, and then there was just no coordination in what they are doing. But I think protest is a fundamental right in democracy. They have come out to protest, and I believe there are people who I'm seeing also protesting in support of the removal of the subsidy. It's all part of our democratic right. But after this, they should go back to the negotiating table. For me, I've been one that in the last 3 decades, I've always participated in a defense of subsidy. But at a certain time, questions are asked. We pay subsidy in millions under Babangida administration. Then it now catapulted to billions, then hundreds of billions, and then trillions, and then we reach a point under Buhari administration that we have to borrow to subsidize. Yes.
All right, because of our time, please permit me to ask another question, and then you can finish it. It would probably link into the question I'm about to ask you. It's with regards to the demands of labor.
All right.
It has been criticized as being not realistic, holding water, and I'd like to get your evaluation of some of their key demands, one of which is has been said to be a upward review of the minimum wage. Another is the repair of the refineries in Nigeria. Another one is that of the reversal, or at least back to status quo, of the price hike of petroleum price, at least until the government is able to make some form of decision or provide a cushion for for the poorest in the country. What's your take on the demands? Do you think it was well thought out? Is it unrealistic? Should Labour have brought something else to the table? Is that why the government is unable to meet them in terms of agree to their terms? What's your take on some of their key demands?
Well, the demands of Labour are legitimate, and I, from my own understanding, have not seen the government directly objecting to the demands of Labour. But where you have a communication gap is lack of coordination. For example, when you talk of increase in wages, I have read somewhere where the government has said they will increase wages. When you talk of refineries, I have read many times where the GMD of NNPCL has made pledges that they are working on that. But the problem is that there are short-term things that can be done, like repair of refineries cannot be done within 24 hours, 1 month, 2 months, or 5 months. These are structures that have been abandoned for many years, and many of them have been vandalized. That will take time. And if we say we have to put the refineries in order before we now take any action, I think it will take almost 70% of the period of this administration. So when you have a team set up, now all these demands can be put on the table. I said these are the things we can achieve immediately, like increase in wages, we can achieve them. And then secondly, providing finance for conversion of our vehicles from petroleum to gas. And then the next has to do with direct financial support for Nigerians. And I think where it simply is the communication dislocation as it is now. What labels are demanding is right, but also what the government is saying they will implement. Then where is the problem? I think the problem has to do with that there is virtually no platform for these issues to be addressed. And I think this is a challenge to President Bola Tinubu. Where we are today is the position where Tinubu and other progressive forces have been. For many times, the civil society, the civil rights groups, the political class have led protests against removal of subsidy right from Babangida's time to Obasanjo's time and then to even Jonathan period. Many of us were in the forefront. And I believe the person who is the president today, he is a major funder of protests and major organizer of protests and also a protest leader. So this is the culture, this is the tradition which they have entrenched, and today they are on the other side of the battle line, which now they have to grapple with the reality of it. So I believe that the demands are all achievable. The only thing is somebody need to facilitate and articulate this, and it can only be done when the government is fully formed.
Well, Senator Sani, this labor protest is coming at a time when there are other urgent issues, both national and international, and on which you have also made a comment. But I'm interested in the screening process, ministerial screening process at the Senate. Yesterday, the former governor of your state, Nasir Rufai, was one of the persons who turned up, who was invited by the Senate. And I know that on more than at least 2 occasions now, you have opposed Nasir Rufai's nomination. You say he's a serpent. And I was joking the other day that you seem to have a reputation for looking for serpents, of helping to catch snakes. And then you also said that Nasir Rufai is a divisive figure. But yesterday he was asked to take a bow and go, although Sunday Karimi, the senator from Kogi West, was waving a petition like the Holy Grail itself. But that was, ignored more or less, waved aside more or less. Do you know anything about that petition? Did that petition come from you? Because you are one of those persons saying you don't want Nasir Rufai at the federal level for a second time.
Well, thank you, Ruben. Well, if you are a keen watcher of events in the parliament globally, you will see how the level of representation, the quality of representation in Nigeria has fallen seriously. If you watch the US Congress on how they grill a political appointee or a nominee to serve in the judiciary, you will wonder whether you will call our own a parliament. When you appear before